Who is your daddy? I am your father.
You fathers will understand.
My father taught me many things.
I got an idea. How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?
Honey, would you take out the garbage?
Recording is on.
Oh, your hair looks so good. It really looks good. I've noticed it's been growing out. I really like it.
Honey, I just spent $200 on my nails. How do they look?
They look really good.
Not on nails, but I will tell you this. I did buy the new Better Battery Life Switch. Bought it from Rakuten.
Yeah.
Rakuten.
Oh, didn't they have like a deal going?
They had a 15% off going, and so I was able to save a bunch of money on it. And it just arrived. I got everything. Since I'm keeping my old one, like I told you before, for my boys to use for their Fortnites and whatever else, it was very easy. I just transferred the saves of the games that I still care about over, and changed it to my primary console, and I'm good to go. And now they can leave Nestor Funk on that console, so when I'm not using it, when I'm not online at least, they can access all my games by logging in as me. So
yeah, it's been pretty easy because I use the Switch Lite as my main now, and if there's a game like I put in Astral Chain, and I had originally started that on my other Switch, and all I did was go and look for the game, like manage the game, and I pulled the save file over from the cloud, and I was like, all right, cool. So I haven't had any issues switching over, basically. Why don't I hear you guys anymore?
We're here.
But is Tim there? I
thought
I saw him talk.
Sorry.
I really like your hair.
Why are you ignoring me?
That is a great start to episode, what is this, 3? I forget what episode
Welcome
this is.
to Fathers of the Grind, episode 180.
180.
180.
So special.
Bang. All right, well, let's jump right in. We're going to talk about Sony's state of play. Hey, listen, sometimes Nintendo blazes a trail, and everyone wants to be like them.
Yeah, literally.
And,
completely.
So Sony, they've done a few of these, right? They've done a couple of these state of plays. They've all been pretty underwhelming. I thought this one was okay, but we'll go through it.
I did not watch it, just so y'all know.
Well, I think most people tuned in because they saw the announcement that, hey, Last of Us Part 2 details are on their way. So that's why people cared, I think. But
I didn't even care about that.
well, it kicked off in a way that I started laughing out loud. I was like, Derek and people like him, and there's a lot of people like Derek out there, believe it or not. They saw the beginning of the state of play, and they were like, what is this? Like, what are we watching? Is this an indie? What is this?
How did you not watch the Last of Us 2 trailer? I mean, I don't even...
I eventually watched it like a couple days later.
All right,
Yeah.
good.
But I didn't care.
All right,
about
so
to
they
slap you.
aired this on the 24th, and they kicked off with this game called Humanity, and it looked really...
Dumb.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
So
looked weird.
basically, it kind of looked like Lemmings meets World War Z meets Sony's old home. For some reason, I was getting vibes from... I don't know. I don't know. Nothing
can
about
see
it
that.
was appealing to me. I saw
see that.
little combinations of things, and maybe it's got some cool puzzles. I don't know. But basically, there's a whole crowd of faceless people that are all gathering and bunching up against walls, and I'm assuming you're trying to get from point A to point B. I don't know. But that's how they kicked it off. Really, really strong start. to the-
Sounds that way.
It seemed like something they would start off one of the Nintendo indie shows with, honestly. Like the Nindy Directs. It kind of had that vibe to it to me at first. But
Well, I saw it side by side, and like the way that the sort of panels would kind of swoosh, or however, was like literally identical to the way Nintendo does it.
Yeah,
it's
man,
like,
I'm
come on,
telling ya.
come on, guys. It's like,
Yeah.
come on.
some boss at Sony was like, I like that. Let's do that. I want it to be just like that.
Do the thing that Miyamoto does at Nintendo.
Do what they do.
Yeah,
It is going to have optional PSVR support. And so if you've got kind of like this God mode where you can look around with your VR headset, I could see that experience being kind of cool if you're directing a whole crowd to solve puzzles. So we'll see, but not a great way to start it. But then they jumped over to a game we already knew about, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And I must admit, this story-based and it looked like a little bit of gameplay trailer actually looks really awesome. So Modern Warfare is looking like a great game. The story looks very intriguing. Kind of reminds me of that show Homeland. a little bit. It's got a lot of modern day. I don't know. It looks really cool. I just think it looks great.
I'll buy it used for sure.
Yeah, same here. I'll get it early 2020 when it's super cheap, but it does look interesting. I hope it's a good campaign because that's really these days all I care about with Call of Duties. But Derek, did you watch that one?
I did not.
Okay, well, it's worth a watch because I know you said you're skipping this one, but the story trailer does look pretty interesting.
Well, if they make enough changes to the campaign, I'll consider it. But if it's just the same, like setup, like just they brought back that what's the guy?
Price.
I don't know. The Price. If all it is they brought Price back, but it's the same setup on how they do all their campaigns, then I'll pass because I do like their campaigns still. As far as I'll start them and I'll enjoy them, but I never finish them anymore because I'm just like, I've done this like literally 10 times.
Well, if they set it up with good characters and kind of a good premise,
I mean,
for the intensity of these other countries, and there's probably some sort of nuclear standoff. It just looks really interesting. Again, it reminds me of a Homelander 24.
I think Price is a good character too.
Well, I think their approach is going to be less Michael Bay this time around. Like they're really emphasizing it's going to be very like way more visceral.
Looks more personal.
And like the opening of it involves like because there's the military, the U.S. military, and then you're playing as the what is it the
Nobody knows, Daniel.
The other side, like the kind of
the other side.
I can't think of the word I'm trying to think of, but the guys,
he's trying to be
the people
politically
from
correct.
Yeah. It's retard, Daniel.
Okay,
the word is
right.
retard.
That's not the other side.
Christ. All right, well, let's just say that is the side we're talking about. Those people.
They're really going for an in-depth story. It's Price versus the retards. And
Oh boy.
I think I was thinking resistance. So maybe thank you for throwing out that R word there.
There you go.
The resistance groups, yeah,
Yeah.
because it's going to be each side, and it's going to
Daniel's
just be
shaking every time I talk.
more of a.
Please stop saying it.
As long as they don't do something stupid like have you shoot up an airport. That still, to me, looking back on it, was like one of the more questionable. I know they were trying to like push the envelope, but it was like looking back on it, it's like wow, they took time to build and develop
that part. But why did we do that? Like, why did they have you shoot?
Because you were supposed to go undercover as like this Russian terrorist or something. And that was a way to prove your loyalty to him or something. But then spoilers for a really old game, they kill you anyway when the shooting is over. As you're getting in the escape truck, the guy looks at you and boom, shoots you. I was like, oh, that was totally worth it then. Sweet. Anyway. All right, so some Modern Warfare stuff still coming out at the end of October. Looks interesting. This one's I'm kind of interested in. The Medieval remake is coming out still. It's planned for October. I don't think we had an exact date on it, but it's still scheduled for October, and the demo is now available. That was something they announced.
I did play the demo.
And?
I'd never actually played the original.
Okay.
It's fun. The soundtrack is actually super super good. It's very Halloween. Good Halloween vibes. I think it's gonna be like a decent Halloween game.
Okay.
And yeah, it just kind of feels old-fashioned, much like the Spyro remake and the Crash remake. So,
okay,
I think if you're into those, then it'd be up your alley.
It always struck me as like the kind of game that you would get that's based on a movie. Like, had this been based on some kind of Tim Burton cartoon, it would have been in that same vein. The
music is very Tim Burton-esque sounding.
Yeah.
So.
I've never watched a Tim Burton movie because I'm not into his style at all, and so same thing with this game. Like, it's nothing that I would ever even play for free.
Yeah, the Tim Burton movies I recommend are the Batman ones in the early 90s. Those are worth it.
Really good.
Uh-huh.
I don't even think I could get through all of them.
Yeah. All right, then they announced that Civilization 6 is finally coming to PS4, full with all the expansions and everything. I mean, Sony just can't stop it with the ports already. I mean, it's enough. It's enough already with the ports, Sony.
We don't have enough games, Tim.
Civ 6 is coming to the PS4. I didn't see
I mean, it's all they do.
I think it's coming this fall.
Re-released games.
I think it's coming out this fall. Of course, I only say that because that's what people say about Nintendo. I'll get to that in a second. I did a really nerdy numbers breakdown on Sony and Nintendo for people who just keep crapping on Nintendo.
I really wish I could play this game on the Switch. 2 months later, they announced it. God, all they do is re-release games
exactly.
on the Switch.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
I wish I could play this portably.
Civ 6 is coming, but then here's one that Daniel mentioned earlier, Arise, A Simple Story. Looks quite good. Tell us a little bit about this one and what caught your attention on it.
Yeah, please do.
Well, it had those vibes that Derek especially likes very much, very indie-esque. Looks like something a small team made, and Derek's all about just supporting the little guy. So
What is this game
This
called?
was
So I
the
can put it on
Viking-based
my
one,
block list.
yeah, Arise.
Isn't
So
it kind of Viking-like, or no? I'm thinking of something
Yeah,
else.
well, it starts sort of with the Viking funeral, like they
Yeah.
clearly the body's on top of what they set
Fire.
it on fire,
Yeah.
the flames, and then you wake up, and then you're like in this snowy environment, and there's sort of a lot of mystical things happening, and what was he dangling off of that he was floating around on? Was it a giant mushroom or something?
That's what it looked like. Yeah, it looks real trippy at times too. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it looks very emotional because there's clearly some
Yeah.
family connections that are there.
I'm wondering if he's going to be looking for maybe so I'm guessing that character you're waking up in the afterlife.
Yeah.
Looking maybe for a family member or something.
Yep.
So kind of that journey. But
Yep.
speaking of journey, that where it kind of like pans, where the camera pans back and he's
Just
like
said
looking up at a mountain. It's very
Isn't Techland the ones that did
Journey.
Dying
It
Light?
is. This is Techland. Yes.
yeah. So they're clearly publishing, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one looks interesting. Other than Last of Us 2, which we'll get to, this one's the one that kind of made me raise my eyebrows a little bit. Like, hey, that looks interesting.
I don't know. It actually looks cool. I don't know if it plays cool. but, like,
Exactly.
actual
That's the big
aesthetics,
question: is it fun to play? Because it looks interesting, but is it fun to play? No idea.
Yeah, I'm kind of into it.
Yeah, the visuals are pretty great. Then they announced the PlayStation Plus lineup for October. Pretty good lineup, especially considering baseball playoffs are going to be deep underway by the time we hit October. And it's the
A kitty.
MLB The Show 19. It's going to be available for everyone starting October, as well as The Last of Us Remastered. So if for
Yeah.
some reason you have a PS4, it's a PlayStation Plus subscription, and somehow have not played Last of Us Remastered yet,
No.
first of all, who
I'm
are
not
you?
attacking my-
Second of all, go
That's
play
it.
it. Now it's free. Oh, kitty cat.
There we go.
Well, I only picked her up because she literally just walked up to me and clawed my back. She's
And now
kind of a
she's
bitch.
clawing you again.
Well, you kind of deserve it, so
Yeah.
it's fine.
Listen, don't pass your bitterness towards me onto my cat. But she's like really hyper at nights, and she just will come up to you and just start attacking you. So it's really great.
Yeah,
All right, well,
kittens
Derek,
are
there's a
pretty
new
rambunctious.
PS4 Pro you can buy. It's got the Kojima Death Stranding theme to it. It's a white
If
PS4.
it would have came with a ladder that never ends, I would have bought it.
All right,
Well,
that's
you know
fair.
what? Hold on, Derek. You know what it does come with? Maybe this will entice you. It comes with a piss-colored controller.
Yes. Uh-huh.
I did see that.
It's got this
So-
weird, it's like weird translucent, I don't know.
I will say this: if I was buying another PS4 Pro, I would consider it. I don't think it's ugly. I don't think it's.
It's got
like,
the two
oh my God, I
handprints.
gotta
It's a
have
white
it.
one with two black handprints
Yeah.
that you've seen probably in those trailers.
And if I was super hyped for the game, maybe. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
I'm not.
And of course, it's available when the game is available on November 8th this fall. All right. Then they did a little VR sizzle reel of a couple games. Some of them look interesting, some of them not so much. Gorn. It's a great title.
Gorn.
Gorn. Hey, babe. I love you too. My wife wanted to remind me that even though I'm super nerdy and talking to strangers about video games, she loves me anyway.
Oh,
Oh, that's
Well,
sweet.
thanks,
Tell her that you. I really love your hair. It looks really good. I've noticed it's.
I was talking to my
growing
daughter
out.
about her hair, not her. Jeez.
tell her
Please
her
don't
nails
sit
look
on it,
nice.
honey.
Her nails
Honey,
look
don't
very
sit on your
nice.
hair.
Okay. All right.
Don't sit on your hair, honey.
Anyway, Aspire 1 VR operative. Your hair is cool too. Her hair is awesome.
My hair is awesome. Why don't you
Oh,
compliment
Your
me?
hair is. I'm not going to talk about your looks ever. You do enough of that.
Compliment yourself enough.
Yeah,
We
you
don't need-
do.
You know, I'm
enough.
tired of people saying that. The girls at work won't tell me I'm good looking because they're like, "You already think you're good looking." Okay,
Well,
so
yeah.
just say it again.
Buy looser
Say-
pants and just
Bye.
grow a
Buy
beard.
normal pants. Yep.
Wear a
normal
shirt
pants.
every once in a
Grow
while.
a beard in, man. Grow a beard. Okay. Or at least a little soup catcher like Daniel's got going on. You know,
That's all
I
I
don't even know
have.
what that is.
a little,
all
little
I have.
soul
Yeah.
patch.
Oh, that looks stupid.
Oh my gosh. All right. So then they talked about After the Fall. No, nothing.
After the fall, which one was that?
This is a VR. This isn't the VR sizzle reel.
Oh, okay.
LA
honest, I
Noire, which
forgot
was
all
talked
the-
about a long time ago. Rockstar's talked about having an LA Noire VR version for a while, but they're finally releasing the VR case files, which is available now, which is always kind of cool when they say, hey, it's coming out now. And then they talked about stuff like Space Channel 5. There's a VR version of that coming out, which is, again, talk about re-releasing old games. Space Channel 5 was a Dreamcast jam, all right?
Yeah.
So,
It's
whatever.
a very popular series, though.
Yeah,
It's
it was.
very niche, but-
I enjoyed it. I thought it was stylish and fun, and as rhythm games go, it was pretty good. But again, great. It's not really making me want to keep using the VR a ton. I've used my VR the most for stuff like Moss and Astrobot, which are both fantastic games, and then I used it a good amount for Beat Saber, which is a really fun rhythm game where you kind of have lightsabers essentially. Other than that, there's not been a ton on VR that's made me want to keep putting that headset on over and over again. It's mainly just been those three for me. And
I think when we get to the point where, and I think the new, which is the one that Facebook creates, is Oculus.
is that Rift? Yeah.
Or Rift. Yeah, I think Joe Rogan had what was it, Carmack on there, and they had the wireless versions of it.
Yeah.
So it's like once these things are just wireless, well, you don't have to deal with cords. Then I think it's going to be
technology
much
is
more,
getting there.
accepted.
Yeah, it's getting there. But I do know that, for example, when we get to Game of the Year talks, we'll have to bring up the Blood and Truth. I think it's called Blood and Truth. That VR game for PlayStation that everyone was just raving about and gave great reviews to, and I played it, and I gotta be honest, it's I think glitchy.
Did you ever finish it?
No, I think it's glitchy. I think it's ugly. I think it's mediocre at best. So I still think the technology isn't quite there. But
I will say, out of all the things that I've bought this generation, the VR is easily the biggest disappointment and the biggest waste of money for me.
It was a nice little kind of sideshow for me and the kids for a little while there, especially over Christmas time when we got it. We played it. And dude, Astrobot, amazing game. Didn't need VR for it, but it did make it pretty cool. Astrobot was great. And Moss is pretty cool too. But both of those are essentially kind of really well-made platform adventure games anyway, and they could have been done on a standard screen. They just happened to use VR, and it worked. Anyway. All right, and to wrap up State of Play, which is about 20-25 minutes long, somewhere in that range, they, of course, started talking Last of Us Part 2, and they showed a pretty lengthy story trailer, and what I'm pretty sure was some gameplay clips as well, even though you didn't get to see any kind of HUD. You didn't really get to see what you'll see as far as stats and ammo goes. But you could tell it was actually being played, which was cool. And that is absolutely the reason that I was interested in the State of Play. So what do you guys think from what you saw from Last of Us Part 2? And by the way, the release date was officially announced February 21st.
Yeah.
So we were split the difference. Daniel was holding out hope for some sort of surprise November release. It's actually 4 months after that.
I did say February 1st, though.
You did guess that.
It did leak.
And then I said, let's just assume it's gonna be like June, because it's that's I think that's when the first Last of Us game came out. I thought.
I think they're trying to. Yeah, the last one came out in June, but I think they're probably going to do what they did with the first one, and that's they're releasing it in 2020 early, and then I think they're going to re-release this on the PS5.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I really do.
For sure.
I think that's their plan. Like, release it, get all this money now to end out the PS4, and then they're going to be like, look at it in native 4K or 8K and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay.
Not that it doesn't already look amazing. It's going to be probably the best looking game to date. But so it looks really fun. It looks like they've upped the ante in terms of combat and potentially stealth. Of course, no major spoilers here, but you are clearly controlling Ellie. Is that her name? I'm blanking out.
Yeah,
okay,
Ellie.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's Ellie.
You're controlling Ellie for what appears to be a bulk of the game, so she's gonna, I assume, have a different gameplay approach than Joel did for the most of the first game, and that is probably more stealth. But she does look like she's got some pretty vicious combat abilities as well.
So they had there was a press event that they had where they invited all the press to actually play. What was it? 3 to 4. 2 hour? Okay, I thought it was like 3 to 4, but maybe it was closer to 2 to 3.
Maybe they played more, but they could only talk about 2 and show 2 or whatever they did. I just saw 2 hours.
Yeah, Ellie's definitely gonna. So obviously, there's still gonna be stealth, but there's gonna be like more. There's gonna be more emphasis on movement in this one because there's gonna be certain enemy types, or I guess kind of the way the AI approaches you is going to be way more advanced than the first one. So like for example, one of the new enemies is dogs. So super sad. You can kill dogs, but they're trying to kill you, so who cares? But you can actually, Druckmann said that you can actually avoid killing the dogs, if depending on how well you're sneaking around.
You can't avoid killing the human beings, but the dogs, we wanted to give people an out on that one.
Of course.
Got it.
Listen, animals are way more important than people, Tim, okay? People are the worst.
I know.
So.
I should have thought about that. You're right.
But, yeah, there's going to be, there's going to be more emphasis on movement mixed with sneaking around. So the AI is definitely going to be more advanced. And again, with the dogs, like, so when you're in stealth, kind of the stealth vision, it'll show your scent and sort of the dog picking up on that scent, so it's trying to follow you. So you're, kind of helping you try to lose the dog.
That's
so
cool.
It doesn't find you and alert all the men and women that are coming after you in that particular area. So
Nice.
and there'll be like multiple dogs too, and they're relentless apparently. So it's gonna be pretty tough.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
What'd you guys?
Yeah, I mean,
Go ahead.
I will say this: I haven't done a lot of research. I just watched the trailer probably 2 days ago. I watched a minute interview with Druckmann, and I was like, he's just gonna hype it. I don't want to listen to him. But I will say this: the thing that I took from like the articles and the interviews and stuff that I have watched and read, it sounds like their goal is. People got to be careful because they're definitely hyping this up. They're like, this is the most ambitious, this is the biggest thing, this is the reason why we're not going to have any online multiplayer, which I will say this, The Last of Us online multiplayer is really good.
I never even tried it.
But I think the reason they're really not doing it, I know what they're saying is, well, we were so focused on the campaign, and I agree they probably are, but I think they're really doing this because they're going to release the multiplayer separate. Either make it a completely separate game.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll charge $60. Maybe they'll do a free to play or whatever. But I think that's.
Hey, maybe it'll be called Last of
she's
Us
relentless.
Survive. It'll be like Metal Gear Solid Survive, and it'll be just as good.
Well, I swear I saw something on Twitter where somebody posted a screenshot of a quote from him saying that they were working on multiplayer, and then they just.
That's what I'm saying. That's what they're trying to
Yeah.
get you to believe.
They said they're excited about the ambition of the multiplayer stuff too, and I'm like,
Yeah.
But I think what they're hyping it up. Don't get me wrong. I'm excited for the game. I thought it looked cool. The trailer looked cool. But I think the thing that excites me the most is I like the fact that they are focusing so much on the campaign. It's supposed to be their biggest and longest, so hopefully it doesn't, run long or anything. But I imagine they're aiming for 15 to 18 hours or something like
I hope there's a lot of
Which
climbing, like in Uncharted 4.
Well, the
I just
first
want-
one was about that
that. I
long,
hope so.
right? I mean, they're
No.
saying this one's gonna be longer. This game's gonna be 2 discs.
I thought the first game was pretty long, but it also took.
Let me look it up. Let me do the how
Yeah.
long to beat, but I don't remember it being that long. I remember
mean,
it being decent.
They're saying it is going to be their longest game.
First one
so
had to be
I
around
guess-
15 hours, right? Something like that,
Yeah. But
or longer.
yeah, it's gonna be 2 discs, which it's either you are swapping discs, which I doubt. It's probably gonna be kind of like with Red Dead. You're installing some data from one of the discs.
Yeah, you guys are right. It was 15 hours. I was
Yeah.
thinking it was, and that's if you don't do any extras. I was thinking it was like a 12-hour campaign.
Yeah, this is gonna be a beefy game.
Yeah.
It's gonna be beefy.
Definitely.
So, with that install disc and then the play disc, I'm guessing.
You just want to keep
So
saying
it's gonna
beefy.
be beefy. So honestly, I definitely see this game being 20, 25 hours minimum. From the way that they're talking about it,
Could be.
which I don't mind at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
So.
We'll see. I think it will be fun. I'm excited for it, but I also I'm cautious. Like, I'm not gonna overhype it, and I don't want to really watch too much. And it's not because I don't think the game will be good. I just obviously I've changed as a gamer. Like, everybody was excited about Red Dead, and don't get me wrong, I didn't love Red Dead, the first one, as much as everybody else, but it didn't it didn't meet my expectations. Like I found it more annoying, and that's kind of what I'm afraid of with this one because they're just like, I know they're going to be so story focused and drawn out and dramatic and all that stuff. So I'm like, oh god.
Yeah, they probably will be, and that's all right.
This kitten's legit going crazy, guys. Like the lights are off, and she's like all over the place. Like she's jumping everywhere. She's attacking me randomly.
Maybe she's furious about the dumb things you're saying about this amazing game.
She's like, how dare you disparage the good name of Naughty Dog?
I mean, I wasn't even live when The Last of Us came out, but I know it's good, thank you.
She turned into Cartman the cat.
I googled it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Screw you, Dad.
Stupid.
I do what I want.
Do people still know? Is South Park still relevant? Do people still like know and quote it?
I mean,
they're adding it to Netflix, I guess.
Oh, are they? Nice.
I think they're adding like all the seasons.
It's actually on Hulu, so maybe it's switching from Hulu to Netflix.
Interesting.
Yeah, but do they have all the seasons on Hulu, or
I think they actually do. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do. Yeah. But back to this amazing game. It looks amazing. The opening, that town that they showed looked awesome. It looked lively and bustling, but like this world is just sad and tormented, and it's like I dig the whole like post-apocalyptic, like we're trying to kind of like piece everything back together and everything's gonna be okay, guys. We'll create this little settlement and everything will be, and it's like that can just be destroyed in literally a second. You get like an army of those things in there, and then that's just done.
Right.
So, just kind of that bleak vibe. I know that makes me sound super emo, but
well, I mean that's what makes a good post-apocalyptic story and setting, right? Is when it's got that combination of bleak as well as good characters that have relationships you care about.
Yeah,
and
you're rooting for them, but like
this is the Walking Dead game that everybody wanted.
It's actually what we wanted the show to be as well, to be honest with you, but it didn't. Yeah. It fell off the rails a long time ago. So, all right. Well, overall, so here's what's interesting about this state of play is overall, I thought it was just kind of a couple little announcements that could have been done just with a press release or a YouTube video. But really what it was let's put some padding in front of this Last of Us Part 2 trailer. You know what's interesting is it reminded me of when you put a high-profile game demo disc in the box for a game that you want to sell really well. And so it kind of had that vibe to like, hey, we want everyone to see about all these games, so we'll end it with the game everyone cares about. So we'll make them sit through all this other stuff. I think that's...
I have a feeling Druckmann said, hey, guess what, Sony? Here's the date, and slid them the little note with the date on it, and they're like, all right, we need to make a state of play right now.
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
And just started asking around for, like, some weird stuff to slap on in front of the trailer.
I like how you're like, he wrote a note.
Yeah, he just wrote a note, slid it across the table. So here's the date.
He sits right beside Sony. You didn't know that? They sit together.
Yeah.
All in the same cubicle area?
They sit right there.
Sure.
All right, well, we are getting ready to wrap up the third quarter of 2019. We're heading into the final home stretch here of 2019, which means a couple of things. One, of course, the best sport is now on TV, and that's football. It also, and the best part of baseball is finally on. That's the playoffs, the only part of baseball that I care about. But it also means you get, for the most part, usually the biggest games, the biggest IPs, the biggest franchises are releasing their entries this fall. And that is very true yet again this year. Not that we didn't get anything good before now. So what I want to do is give us a quick rundown, a quick preview of what's coming over the next 3 months. Get your guys' quick take on each of those and decide if those are ones that you're interested in or not. And then we'll do a recap of some of the heavy hitters we've seen so far in 2019 and see what we think would make our Game of the Year list if we had to maybe not rank them yet. We'll do that later. But just say, yeah, this is probably going to be somewhere on my list, or at least considered for my list. But first, let's start in October. Starting on the 1st, it's a pretty busy day. We've got Call of Duty Mobile, Destiny 2 Shadowkeep. That's a pretty major one. Let's see. Oh, that's pretty much it. The other stuff is just garbage. Never mind. Skipping past those. On the 4th, we've got Ghostbusters, the video game remastered. Another game that no one asked for, but it's happening.
Well, I will say Ghost Recon releases early on
it's early on October 1st, and then fully on the 4th.
If you buy the expensive version.
So Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint releases on October 4th.
Yeah,
a few days early if you pre-ordered it. What do you think, by the way, about? Because I still didn't make time for myself to play the open beta. Thoughts on that early on?
I
Same here.
downloaded it and then I didn't get around to it. So
I
we'll see.
only played a little bit of it. It seems cool. I
Does it
felt
just feel like more Wildlands?
hmm.
Is it just more Wildlands?
I felt like it was more story focused. Like they're really, you know how they like the last one they were like, hey, this is the bad guy and here's all his sub bosses.
Yes.
Go get him.
Yes.
You know, and they kind
And
of
then
had
he
a story.
disappears for most of the game.
This one
so-
felt like they're trying to make this a more personal story, yeah, and so I'm not gonna spoil it, but it felt like that like I didn't feel like I was playing Wildlands. I felt like I was playing like I actually felt like I was playing Splinter Cell for a second. I was like, this feels like Splinter Cell.
All right, now you've got my attention.
So we'll
All right,
see.
so that one
you know,
comes
Splinter
out.
Cell cross Predator. I mean, you are out in the wilderness, but
Well, that one comes out October 4th. That one does look quite interesting, especially with all the loot stuff that they've said they're adding in. That's a little bit more towards the Division than it has been in the past. So that'll be interesting.
But I'm more excited for. I know we didn't talk about it, but I'm more excited for Shadowkeep than for Destiny 2 than I am for
the Destiny expansion.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I think it's that season. Like I even was thinking about it. I hadn't played Destiny 2 in like 3 or 4 months.
Yeah,
I think it was the last time I played it when I unlocked that Dreaming City or whatever, and then the weather started changing here, and I was like, man, I'm in the mood to play Destiny 2. And so I hadn't even looked into Shadowkeep at all, and then I started looking into it. And I was like, I think I'm going to buy it on PC.
How does the weather change in Florida? Does it go from like 90% humidity to 85%? What does that change?
Yeah, definitely. Well, it went back to it's 90% today,
Okay.
but it dropped a little bit. When my tires start getting flat, I'm like, weather's changing.
Oh my god!
Is that the signal?
Yeah,
The
my
indication?
front right tire will start getting low on air, and I'm like, why are you getting low on air? Because I remember when I first got the car, it went super flat, and so my dad pulled it off, and he did the whole check to see if there's any holes or anything. No, it's just the weather. When the weather changes, it gets flat.
Interesting.
Huh.
Like, that's
All right.
ridiculous.
Well, then October 8th is Concrete Genie. This is a PS4 game that I have not heard talked about a lot since it was announced a long time ago.
Sounds amazing.
But Concrete Genie, I always thought looked kind of interesting. I think it has to.
does
It's
look
got some stealth and action adventure, and I think you're like a paint. No, I'm sorry, a spray paint artist, right? You're like tagging
I think
city.
so.
I think.
I think there's a bit of a story of like he's bullied, right? Is that
think
what it
so.
is? The kid
Yeah,
that
yeah,
you're
yeah.
playing as. So
Yep. But he's a really good artist, and it doesn't like. I'm not trying to say it's like the Blob where you're recoloring a colorless city or something like that, but it does look like one of the main goals is to tag as much of the walls and stuff that you can. But I don't know. I haven't seen or heard much about this since it was announced, and so
yeah.
I'm still seeing an October 8th release date. Don't know if that's legit or if that's actually when it's coming out, but
I think so.
we'll see. We'll see. And hopefully that's a good one. Trine 4, The Nightmare Prince. That's a franchise that keeps on churning. But this one actually looks really great. Looks really, really pretty. Coming out on all platforms. And also, I think they're also going to have the Trine collection is coming out around the same time. Kind of their remastered collection. So pretty fun little fantasy multiplayer platforming action adventure games. So if you're into those, Trine 4 drops that day as well. As well as a side-scrolling take on the Yooka-Laylee franchise, I guess we could call it, since now there's a second entry, Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. Now that they're going side-scrolling platforming, maybe it's actually going to strike the right notes, because the 3D platforming wasn't quite doing it for most people.
Yeah,
So.
it's just more the vibes, and I don't know. It was trying to be Banjo, and it just didn't really work.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know. The
so
magic
maybe-
wasn't there.
Maybe the side-scrolling, and it does look pretty good. I watched a little video of it, just kind of. I was feeling skeptical, but I watched the video, and I was like, this actually looks pretty charming and fun. I wonder if it actually plays well. Who knows? Who knows? On October 15th, we get all the ports coming to the Switch. Everything from The Witcher 3, Complete Edition, Overwatch, as well as Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, and stuff like Icewind Dale's coming to the Switch that day.
That's all on the same day.
Yeah, that's all on October 15th. That's gonna be a
Port
pretty
day.
crazy one. But if you're a PC owner, you also get the Grandia HD remaster, which is pretty cool. So that's a classic. I believe I played that Was Grandia on Dreamcast? I think.
Grandia
Yeah.
2 I had on Dreamcast. I think the original was PlayStation 1.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
Then maybe I played Grandia too, because I remember that series.
It was Grandia.
I remember it on the
Yeah.
Dreamcast though. So, and then on the
Yeah.
16th, we get this game from Game Freak that was at one point called Town, but now is Little Town Hero coming to the Switch. Looks very kid friendly. Who knows? It might end up being a great little gem for all ages, but it looks very much like kind of a kid RPG. Doesn't look any less fun. It just looks very simple. So we'll see if Little Town Hero is any good. PS4 and PC, by the way, on the 17th of October, get Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes Complete Edition. So that will no longer be a Switch exclusive in October. All right, moving on. The rest of October, we get, let's see, I'm going to skip through that. WWE 2K20, if that's your jam. That comes out on the 22nd. On the 25th, that's a pretty busy day. Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Medieval, and The Outer Worlds, all dropping on the 25th. So if you're a PS4 owner,
That was the only reason why I was thinking about not getting Call of Duty, even if the campaign looked amazing. Is I'm like, Outer Worlds is coming out.
Outer Worlds, yeah. And Medieval. So between on that day, PS4 owners are going to have some big decisions on their hands. Do you get the modern kind of gritty shooter in Call of Duty, the one that usually is high production values and all that stuff? Do you go with Obsidian and their new kind of adventure RPG style shooting game in Outer Worlds, or do you go with the old school action platformer in Medieval? So a lot to choose from there. And of course, the Switch version of Outer Worlds is on the way, but not yet, and jury is still out if that's going to be worth getting. Who knows?
I really wish I could play Outer Worlds on the go. God, why are they just re-releasing games on the Switch?
Well, technically they're not re-releasing. It's not even out yet, guy.
Yeah.
So
Will we?
But they're releasing it late. So
Let me
they're
ask you this:
re-releasing
is it considered a port if they've already announced it's coming to all platforms, but the Switch is coming late? Is it now a port technically?
It's a port.
The port. All right, it's a port.
And it's not in 4K.
I don't think it's a port, but that's fine.
All right, so the new
Kyle
game.
Neely, it's not in 4K.
The new game from the
Laugh at my
developers
joke.
of Oxenfree, this game called After Party, where it has, I think I've heard it described as a drinking game with the devil. I think. I don't.
Yeah, it looks pretty interesting. You're playing these two friends, I think, in college, and they die. So then they go to hell, but they're trying to. I guess there's like a loophole in the system or something where, like, if you beat the devil, I think it's in a drinking game. Yeah, like you can get out of hell.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, a lot of dialogue.
So-
I mean, if you've played Oxenfree, you know there's lots of dialogue choices. Pretty well written and clever, but again, lots of talking, not a ton of stuff on the gameplay side typically.
Derek's favorite thing.
So we'll see. All
Pre-ordered.
right, so Disgaea 4 Complete Plus is coming to the Switch and PS4 on the 29th as well, as are ports of Resident Evil 5 and 6 coming to the Switch.
Cool.
Good.
And Vampire coming to the Switch
Vampire.
from Don't Nod. Vampire. That's coming to the Switch on the 29th. And then to close out the month, we get Luigi's Mansion 3 dropping on the
Yeah.
Switch. Finally, a non-port coming to Switch.
Sweet
Luigi's Mansion 3
Hollywood.
looks fun. By the way, if you pre-order that, I believe you have to do it digitally. You get double the gold points or coins or whatever from Nintendo. You know how they give you points, which essentially translates to money.
Free money.
So you get double those if you pre-order it before the 30th. So if you're going to get that game, you might as well get those double points. All right, moving into November, we've got on the 5th, we get Just Dance 2020, we get Planet Zoo, and we get Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, Tokyo.
Ow.
Is your cat attacking you right now?
I'm just trying to record. Derek, just
On
tell
the-
her her hair looks nice, and then she'll leave you alone.
On the 8th, we get... Oh, thanks. On the 8th, we get Death Stranding, of course.
Yeah.
Everyone's excited about that.
All right.
Um,
If I may, this will be my little outro here, and then I'll bail.
Yes.
Because I know neither of you will care, so I will be the one who will step up and play that game and let
I'm gonna play it.
the people know. Yeah, but you're gonna sit there with your freaking condescending attitude. Like, oh, there's so much talking. Let me skip through.
genius! Such a genius!
Everyone's on his nads. Kojima nads. Listen, I think people just need to appreciate the fact that he's no longer at Konami and he's just doing whatever he wants. So if this game turns out amazing, then we know he still got it and
Yeah.
that he's a talented person, and that
not
Konami
a
was
talented
holding him back. I mean, whether he was kind of being a what's the word I'm trying to think of? Not a drama queen, but
No, he was a drama.
like putting
Like a
himself
diva?
up on a
Diva.
pedestal, so to speak. Like
He's a diva.
a
He's
diva, there we go,
100% a
yes.
diva.
But just, if this works out, then Sony made a great decision, and great for Kojima and everybody at Kojima Productions. Is it Kojima Productions, right?
Yeah.
Kojima? Yeah. For making something really unique and weird and interesting and new. So
Yeah.
a Strand
we'll
game,
see.
he keeps calling it.
Listen,
So
if you just push away all the weirdness, and if the game at its core is fun to play, then kudos to them for making a fun game that's the combat's actually fun and whatever stealth elements. I understand it's going to be surrounded by all kinds of weirdness and weird visuals and a storyline that's going to be like, what is happening? I just assume all those things. What I don't assume is that it will actually play really well. But I'm hoping that it will. Hoping that it is fun to play.
yeah.
So we'll see.
Well, like,
we'll see.
Obviously, for me, the main thing is the story. Like,
Yeah, but if it's bad to play, you're not gonna like it.
I suppose. I mean, I don't know. I've played some games and I'm like, the gameplay's not nearly as great as the story. So,
Yeah.
like, I was fine with the game not playing super great or wasn't super fun because, like, I was enthralled by the story. Like, I mean, Quantic Dream games, I mean, they don't play amazing.
I don't know. Control was pretty freaking awesome.
Not Quantic Dream games, then. I'm sorry.
I'm thinking of
Jesus.
Remedy. Remedy made Control. My bad.
Yeah,
My
so
bad.
Quantic Dream. So that's who I had. Correct.
Oh yeah. You're
Heavy
thinking of like
Rain,
Beyond Two Souls and
Beyond Two Souls.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like their games don't control well.
True.
But to me, personally, I think that they have some fantastic
Okay.
stories.
Fair enough.
So,
Fair enough. So we'll see if Death Stranding delivers or not. It's actually not that far away. We are surprisingly close to this.
Well, I'm
thing.
definitely buying it.
Yeah. Well, you better.
on that
Unless
same day,
reviews come out early and they're like, "This is trash," then I'll stay away.
All right,
on
but I'm
that
outta
same
here,
day,
so.
for those of you who don't care about
Get the heck
Kojima
out.
and all of his weirdness, you can play Need for Speed Heat, or you can grab Super Lucky's Tale for you and your kids on the Switch, because Xbox no longer has exclusives. All right, Romancing Saga 3, for whatever reason, is coming out. I didn't realize that was a thing. I thought they only made 2 of those.
No, we were being romanced
Yeah.
2 times prior.
It's happened.
I'm gonna go romance myself. All right, bye.
Nope. Derek,
Let's
are you
not
out? Or
talk about
Daniel,
touching
you out of here?
yourself.
Yeah, no, I am.
All right. Farewell,
So thank you.
Daniel.
Thank
Go
you,
get
fellas.
some sleep, buddy.
All right, I'm
All
gonna
right.
go think about Derek and romance myself.
On
I'm gonna get some sleep right now as Tim talks.
on November 15th, we've got the Pokemon Sword and Shield games, of course, as well as Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. And then on the 19th, Shenmue 3. On the 22nd, Doom Eternal and Sniper Ghost Warrior contracts. So the second half of November is pretty stacked. Shenmue 3, of course, being the one that me and Derek are most excited about.
Oh, of course. For sure.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Or we could just play Yakuza, but whatever.
That's true. As far as the end of November, the only one that really matters to me is Doom Eternal. I can't wait for that. I'm curious if Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is good, but Doom Eternal is the one that I already know I'm going to love it. So I'm just excited to play.
I'm real excited about, Star Wars. I trust who's making it. I obviously have said this in the past. I don't have any issues with EA. But that's not why I say I trust. I trust the guys who make Titanfall. I know it's outside of what they've done before because they all came from Call of Duty and then they made Titanfall, so Titanfall makes sense. This is totally different. This is a third-person action adventure that's obviously going to be story-driven, whereas Titanfall was never really story-driven.
Yep.
But I don't know. I trust that they are quality.
I
They've
hope
got a
it's
good leader. I
Yeah.
mean, Vince, I forgot his last name, but Vince, the guy who came from Call of Duty, he actually, I think, was the main dude that started Call of Duty. But I trust that he's the type he's relevant, he's aware, he understands what people want, and he's pretty good at delivering, and I think that's what we'll get. So I'm pretty excited. I wouldn't say I'm more excited for that than Doom Eternal, but kind of like what you just said, I already know what I'm getting with Doom Eternal. I already know I'm gonna like it.
Yeah.
So I always get a little more excited for games that I don't know. Like
That's fair.
Like the Outer World.
Yeah.
I know who's making it. I love them.
We don't really know what to expect there.
But I don't know if I'm gonna love it.
Yeah.
Although when I look at it, I'm like, this is just Fallout done better. So I can only imagine I'm gonna love it. But point is because it's an unknown, there's a little bit more excitement compared to the known, which would be like a Doom Eternal.
Yeah, I have full confidence they'll deliver, and it won't be a situation where, like, I think back to with Far Cry 5. I know a lot of people it had its detractors, of course. I loved it. And then Far Cry New Dawn came out, and I couldn't wait. I just wanted more of that. And it turns out I actually didn't really want more of that. It didn't quite strike me the way that I was hoping that it would. But I don't have that same apprehension for Doom Eternal from what I've seen so far, and I just know I just have a good feeling that it's going to be pretty fantastic. December, of course, is pretty light. November is usually where all the heavy hitters arrive. December has a few things though. There's a new episode of Life is Strange 2. I think it might be the final episode of that season. Drops in December, as does Star Ocean First Departure R for the Switch and PS4. And if they actually deliver on time, the Ancestors, the Humankind Odyssey, which is already out on PC, is supposed to hit consoles that month as well. And then this game called Phoenix Point, which is a turn-based strategy game, which looks kind of interesting, is supposed to come that month. And then, of course, one of the ports that I'm excited about is I am excited to grab Assassin's Creed 4 and Rogue. Both Black Flag and Rogue are supposed to be dropping in a single collection right in the beginning of December as well. So I'll be grabbing that. So Derek,
I will say this.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say about the Switch. Now that I've got the Switch Lite and I'm using it more, I'm actually looking into buying more games. Like I actually was, when The Witcher 3 was announced, I was like, no, I'm not going to touch that. Now I'm like, yeah,
maybe.
I think I'm going to buy The Witcher 3. I don't know if I'll buy it day one because it's $60.
It'll go cheap, yeah. Well, dude, if you're interested, go check out the sales that are. There's a bunch of sales right now, especially Square has a whole bunch of games on sale right now. If there's any of those Final Fantasies that you're interested in, most of them are down 33% or more. I actually just picked up the Collection of Mana. That was down to, I think, $25 from $40. And that gives me...
I want a Capcom sale because I want to get Dragon's Dogma and I want to get the Resident Evil games.
There you go. And of course...
I would like to see Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 7 come over. And I'm thinking, since they've released 0, 1, 4, 5, and 6 are coming, and Revelations and Revelations 2 have all been released, I don't see why they wouldn't.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, obviously, it's going to be downgraded versions, but I still think
they could do it. And just like you said,
they will. I feel like Capcom, Square, all these companies are like fully on board with Nintendo now. So
you know, it's interesting though. Like a lot of these companies, they've learned how to make their games run pretty well on the Switch, with sometimes not very noticeable downgrade in visuals. But it does make you wonder. I just wrapped up Link's Awakening this weekend, and I love that game, and it performs well when you need it to. But when you're kind of in that outside overworld, there's tons of slowdown, especially when you've got multiple enemies on the screen. For example, when you start dashing through a long line of grass to just like chop it all up at one time, the game starts going real choppy. Like the frame rate just really slows down.
I've had a little bit, but not like where it's chugging or anything real noticeable.
Yeah.
It'll be like a quick, like I'll see it and then I'll be like, oh, it's gone.
Yeah,
it's
as soon as I kind of stop moving or stop that move, then it usually clears up. But like I said, at the moments that matter and all the boss fights, which it has some pretty great boss fights, by the way, and all the dungeon stuff when timing is really important, hasn't been an issue. It's mainly been that overworld when there's a lot happening when I'll notice, wow, that really slowed down right there. It doesn't stay. It doesn't lock up. It doesn't totally freeze frame or anything. You just notice that it clearly dropped the frame rate and slowed down a bit. Honestly, that's the only qualm I have with that game. It is a blast. That game has so much fun stuff to do. My piece of advice for anyone who's playing it, if you've got the time and energy to do this, there are 50 total secret seashells to find in that game. If you find 40 of them, you can instantly double your sword's power. So whatever used to do 1 damage now does 2. And if you have full hearts, it'll actually throw this energy wave out, and you can hit folks from a distance as much as you want if your hearts are full. So to me, that instantly makes your sword way more effective.
How many hearts do you have to have?
You have to have 40 seashells for that.
No, I'm saying how do you know
You
when
just
you
you
have
just have to have full
heart?
health. You can't have any missing heart.
Oh,
Yeah.
you mean you can have 5
Yep. If you have
hearts, but
5
if
or if
it's
you have
full.
15, doesn't matter as long as you're not injured at
Yeah,
all.
I'm at like 36
Yeah, if you just
seashells,
get
I
a few
think.
more, then you'll be able to go back to that seashell mansion and double up your sword power. And then if you get a chance to get the boomerang, that thing's kind of like a boss and really most other enemy hack. So it's pretty easy to get the boomerang because you're throughout the game you're trading these weird items with other characters. It's like, hey, I want this pineapple or I need this this letter delivered
Yeah.
or whatever. And as you do that stuff, you end up landing with a magnifying glass, which lets you see hidden things in the world. Well, if you take it down to the beach and use a bomb to open up, you'll see kind of a crack in the wall near the water. You bust that open, you go in there. If before the magnifying glass, it's just this empty cave where someone lives, but no one's there. When you go in with the magnifying glass, you'll see this character standing behind a desk, and he'll trade you whatever item is in your inventory, is in your Y button, for a boomerang. So what you do is you just trade him your shovel, and then he'll give you the boomerang, and then you talk to him again. You can buy your shovel back for like 300 or something like that. But that boomerang does damage and it stuns enemies, and it made all the boss fights way easier for me for the rest, and even regular enemies way easier. I loved it. So there you go. Love that game. Amazing game.
Well, then that's probably what I'm doing next because I just got the magnifying glass
Yeah, go get
today.
that boomerang, but make sure you buy that shovel back because you'll need it for a few more of those seashells.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, really, really awesome game. I also finished Gears 5, and we've talked about it a lot, so I won't talk about it much more. But holy crap, is that a great game? That's right up there
Well, I
with my
will
favorites.
talk about this, and then we can move on. Without spoiling it, what did you think about like all of Act 4, which
Oh,
is the final
so
act?
epic. I mean, I don't want to spoil too much. I think it's a relative.
There's a
There's a
part
relative first
where
in
they
Gears. We have
put.
to make a choice. I don't think there's been many choices to make in Gears.
No, I don't think I've
That
ever
was
been able to make a
legitimately
choice in Gears.
emotional, and the aftermath of all that stuff, and then the big final boss battle was cool. I mean, it was great, man. By the time the credits rolled, I was ready for Gear 6. So I love it. I really, really love it. I thought they knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, I think Gears of War. It was already my favorite Xbox franchise. I think it's moving up the ladder,
Yeah.
especially after
Yeah, after I
this.
finished it, I put out a little poll in our group just to see what people like for different third-person shooters and what mechanics they like the most. Not even just like story, but what mechanics. Because I think the Gears mechanics right now are my favorite out of all the other third-person shooters. I think it's my favorite. The cover system's great. The guns all feel really great. I really, really like it. So, absolutely loved that game. And speaking of stuff that's come out so far this year, forget about Q4 we just previewed, but think about the first 3 quarters. What games come to mind when I say, all right, it's time to start thinking through what's going to be considered for Game of the Year? What jumps out at you as you think back over the year? Not in any kind of order. This is out of order. So, of course, Gears 5, I think, is up there for both of us.
Oh yeah, Gears 5, Sekiro. Although that took a hit just because I had no desire
What
to
about
beat
like
it.
Devil May Cry 5? Is that
Um,
maintained in your mind?
Yeah, it definitely has slid. Like I keep a spreadsheet, and I'm not gonna tell everybody, but I keep a spreadsheet, and I'll like if a game's amazing, I might put it at the one spot, and then as I
It
keep
might
playing
move down.
games,
Yeah.
I'll slide it down if I feel like that game beats it. The only thing, and I've heard this before with the bigger companies that do these top 10 lists and stuff, is the earlier games do always
They
get
do.
hurt because you have these emotional highs when you play these games. You're like, this game's so amazing. Like when I beat Gears of War 4, first time I beat it, I was like, this is my favorite Gears. And then I went back and played Gears of War 4, and I was like, it's not even like my third favorite. It's like it slid down, especially since I went back and played all the other previous Gears before I played Gears 4 again. And I was like, nope, Gears 1 is still my favorite. Gears 3 actually moved up. I hated that
I
game, and
love
now I
Gears
love
3.
it, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I think a game like Devil May Cry 5, when I was playing it, I loved it, but now it's kind of sliding back. And keep in mind, that's not really my style of game. I enjoyed it because I thought it was just what it did.
Yeah.
It did real well, but it's not my style. But I would say, honestly, Greedfall has a shot.
Interesting.
I'm not saying game of the year, but definitely top 10
of making the
Maybe
list.
even
Yeah,
top
that's a
5.
pretty big deal. Yes, for me, since I haven't played Greedfall yet, I'd have to throw in stuff like Wargroove and even Fire Emblem Three Houses. I'd throw in there as
See,
at
I
least-
need to play that one more too
Yeah.
because now that I'm into my Switch, I need to give that one a chance. Like I see all this praise for this game, and I played seriously only 2 or 3 hours, and I was like, I'm not loving this. And
yeah.
I feel like it's just such a big game, and I was like intimidated by that. Like I'm like, I don't want to do this.
Well,
I
don't
wanna-
forget
I don't wanna hear
RE2
them
came out
talk.
again this year, and that one was certainly a legitimate contender for most people. Resident Evil 2.
Which one?
Resident Evil 2.
Yeah, that was the one I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, that one's definitely.
So
on there.
there's a lot. Days Gone is gonna be probably in my top 10,
Hmm.
unless I fall in love with the last 3 or 4 games that I'm buying for 2019.
Yeah.
Going back after taking a break and playing it, I still haven't beat it, but I'm towards the end. But going back and playing it, it actually just moved up. Like
Okay.
sometimes when you walk away from a game, that was the point I was making with Gears of War 4, and then you come back, you're like, it's not as good as I thought it was because I was kind of hyped for it now. But I actually enjoy it, like just from a gameplay in the world.
Yeah.
But characters, story, all that, still stupid to me, but everything else is really well done.
Well, and don't forget this summer we also had Super Mario Maker 2, which I think is going to earn a spot on my list. I enjoyed that way more than I expected. I think there was also a surprise factor there. I knew I would enjoy playing with my kids a little bit. I just didn't know how much I would enjoy playing it and how much I would admire all the work that went, how deep that game is. It's really excellently done. I don't know that there's ever been a better builder out there. I know there's a lot of RPG Maker fans out there. I just think Super Mario Maker 2 did it all really well. I just recently tried Slay the Spire since it's free on Game Pass. And I know that one got rave reviews, and I just assumed it was one of those ones that everyone reviews really well, but actual people like myself wouldn't love it. But Slay the Spire is a pretty fun card game. It's one of those ones that, you know, while holding a baby late at night, I needed a game I could play like turn-based style. And so Slay the Spire is a turn-based kind of card RPG. And pretty basic mechanics, but really fun. And then lots of really cool ways to unlock stuff. It's got a roguelike approach to it because you do runs. And so you pick which path you want to take, and you get as far as you can. And just like other roguelikes, you can upgrade certain elements, but a lot of your stuff resets, and then you go again. And so it's pretty fun, pretty fast-paced, little card battles, and I like it. I like Slay the Spire. Don't know that it'll make my...
Thomas really likes it too. I think he plays it every day. I think they have like daily things.
They do,
and
yeah.
he plays-
It's, again, since it's all about, hey, go ahead and do another run on Slay the Spire. It's got that vibe to it. Yeah,
Maybe I should check it out. I wasn't really, once I saw it was like a card game, I was like, nah. I'll
Yeah.
pass.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. Again, it was late at night, and I just needed something to entertain myself while one of my arms was occupied holding the baby. So I was able to play one-handed, doing some turn-based stuff. It was good. It was good. Mortal Kombat 11 and MLB The Show 19. These are games that will probably make some people's lists. I don't know if they'll make yours or not. What do you think?
MK11 will make mine
Okay.
for sure. I played that for a good solid 2 months.
Gotcha.
I was doing the dailies every day. I like that
That's
game.
fair. I haven't played Dragon Quest Builders 2. I know there'll be plenty of people listening, as well as others out there who will put this on their final lists. I highly doubt either one of us will get a chance to actually try it before we actually talk Game of the Year stuff, but I know a lot of people like that. Outer Wilds, I thought, and maybe I didn't give it enough of a shot, I thought it was pretty overrated. It got a lot of really high reviews, and I just thought it was kind of weird and slow and boring, but I didn't get too far into it, to be fair. Control, I think, is probably going to make my top 10. So unique, so fun. I loved Control. I think it'll be in there somewhere. Yeah.
I think it will too.
The Division 2, I kind of forgot that one even came out this year. But it's fantastic.
Yeah. I haven't
Love
even, I think I'm only like a 17 or an 18 or something.
I
haven't
loved
played
it,
in a long
and
time.
it felt like it. Like looking back, like you said, recency oftentimes trumps games that came out earlier in the year. Division 2, if I look back on it as objectively as I can, I have to admit I really loved that game. It really sucked me in, and
Oh, it's definitely
Without a
better
doubt.
than the first one. Like they made really good improvements. As I played it more, I was like, okay, this is better than the first one. Because when I first started, I was like, I'm not in the mood for this, and it just feels like the first one. Which again, I don't knock games for, that are in the same franchise for feeling that way. But I was like, I'm not that interested. And then when I came back to it and started playing, I was like, no, there's a lot of improvements here that make this better.
You know, games like Sekiro were probably on my top list early in the year, but have probably slid off that list since then. And as the fall rolls through, I bet it's definitely gonna fall off the list. But another one,
See, to me, Sekiro is one of those games. It's so difficult for me to talk about this one because I know if I beat it, it would be my game of the year. I know it would because it plays perfectly.
Yeah.
I love
It is
the
really
world.
good.
I love the characters. I love everything about it. I just don't. And this is how you know this is true, that it isn't just Sekiro. It's just too hard for me. 2 games just came out that I would normally buy, and that's the Surge 2. I bought the first one on day 1. Surge 2 came out, and then Code Vein. I did not buy either one, and I'll tell you why. It had nothing to do with the reviews, because actually when I watched the reviews for both of them, I was like, they sound pretty good. They sound like games I would want to play. I'm over the whole Dark Souls stuff. Like, I don't even know if From Software was to release a Dark Souls or a Bloodborne game right now that I would even want to play.
Well, that's not true, but I hear what you're saying.
Okay, it's a lot. But still, my point is like, I'm over that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to sit there and have anxiety and frustration over a boss. Like I said, the one I got stuck up on Secure, I only tried him like 3 or 4 times, and it was just more like I knew when I was looking at him, I was like, I'm gonna have to give you all my attention. I have to have patience. I'm gonna have to really try to beat you. The other ones I tried, don't get me wrong, but they weren't as hard as this guy was gonna be. And I was like, I don't want to do it. I'm just gonna walk away from this game now. I gave it a good solid 20 hours. But again, the reason why I say this is because I know if I was saying, "Oh, I beat that game," there would be no questions. Everybody would know it would be my number one. But because I didn't beat it, because I didn't feel like sticking with it, it's definitely slid down. I think on my recent spreadsheet, I dropped it to like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So, and I imagine it's going to keep dropping as
I think
more
it'll
and
be
more games
in my
come out.
honorable mention list alongside games like, for me personally, stuff like Kingdom Hearts 3, even Wolfenstein Youngblood. I just don't see those making the top 10, although I did really enjoy those games. And I really enjoyed Sekiro, and I really admire everything that it does. It's a very high-quality game. Just didn't quite stick with me. Even those indie games that we talk about, like Katana Zero. Really cool game. I thought it was really creative and clever, but again, can I honestly say it's one of the 10 best this year? I don't think so. The same is going to go for stuff like Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. I can't say that one has earned its way into my top 10. But again, these are games that I enjoyed and that I really liked. Even something like Crackdown 3, I'll at least mention it and say, hey, that was a fun game this year. I enjoyed Crackdown 3 for what it was. I can't say it was better than all these other games that were out, but it was pretty good. So those are the ones that jump out at me. The ones I anticipate being added to that list, I anticipate Doom Eternal and potentially even the new Star Wars game edging their way in there at some point. We'll see if they actually deliver. I assume they're going to. And who knows, maybe even something that I'm not expecting, like Luigi's Mansion 3. If I end up picking that up and it surprises me, that could surprise its way up there. But for the most part, I feel like this has been a year full of a lot of good games. Not really any excellent home run type games.
But I feel like there's just, like, even with you and I talking about it, like, I'm sitting here thinking about my list. I'm like, damn, I might have to leave this game off and leave this. But I really liked it.
It's been a bit of a sneaky year that felt kind of empty, but actually delivered in some ways, you know?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I sat there and said, "Oh, Days Gone will definitely make it." And now I'm thinking of all these games that are about ready to come out and that have already
Rage
come out.
2? What about Rage 2? Does that make the list? Probably not, but
unfortunately, I didn't even beat that one because I lost interest in it after 4 hours.
But so I finished it and I really liked it, but don't know that it's going to make my list. So to me, the fact that I'm keeping stuff like Rage 2 and Kingdom Hearts 3 and Sekiro, games that I honestly enjoyed, and Wolfenstein Youngblood, I like these games, but for right now, I don't think they're going to be able to make the list. So that tells me that 2019 is actually a little better than I gave it credit for. It's no 2017 or even 2018, which I thought were just both phenomenal years. But there was a lot to enjoy, a lot to play this year. So looking back on it, that's why I love Game of the Year stuff too, is you get to kind of look back on the year and in some ways, at least talking about it, kind of relive the enjoyment you had with some of these games. So I'm pleasantly surprised with what I'm looking back, and there's a ton I haven't even mentioned, stuff like Yoshi's Crafted World and stuff like that I haven't even covered. So there was plenty to play here in 2019. Hey, anything else you've been playing you want to talk about before we wrap up?
No, I'm just still playing Zelda, and I think I'm on the sixth dungeon. Yeah,
Okay.
I just entered it. I haven't done anything with it.
Okay. Yeah, a couple of those last 2-3 dungeons actually get pretty challenging. Very rewarding when you figure out the puzzles, but some of them are like, whoa, I never would have thought.
Yeah.
You know, I won't even give you a hint because either you're going to discover on yourself or you'll decide to look up a guide. There's tons of guides out there. But yeah, some of them do get pretty challenging, but a very satisfying ending to that game. I really liked it a lot. Other than that, I already told you I was playing a little bit of Slay the Spire, which is good. Not amazing, but good. But now that I've wrapped up Gears 5 and Zelda, my plan is to give Borderlands 3 a lot more time before I'm distracted by other stuff. So I want to really dive into Borderlands 3. I really only played that for about maybe 2 hours total. So I want to give that one a little more time and dig into it so I can see, is it really just quote unquote more Borderlands and roll my eyes like everyone likes to say? Or, you know, does it have that unique thing to offer that's going to really hook me that I can't get elsewhere? So we shall see. But that's it. That's all I got. We shall see. Hey, Derek, thanks for staying on a little later than usual. I know Daniel had to go because he's younger than both of us and yet somehow still older. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, he can't handle the young life.
So that does it for us for this week. Thank you guys for listening, and we will see you next time.
Who is your daddy? I am the father.
You fathers will understand.
My father taught me many things.
I got an idea. How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?